And
a warm welcome on day 3 of our Open House 2022 here in Pfronten. That is to our guests here on site, finally live back in the studio, but also a warm welcome to all those of you joining us on our social media platforms. We'd be happy for you to stay online, but should you miss any of the presentations or part of the talk, you will find the entire talk on our event website afterwards. As announced, today is day 3 and it's Automation Day. Today we'll have exciting information on new technologies and products regarding DMG MORI automation solutions, some of which may also make a crucial difference on your shop floor. It's first and foremost about particularly heavy parts, particularly large parts, and about extremely complex machining processes. But this should not be an obstacle to production automation, because we listen to what our customers need. Together with you, we've developed what you specifically need. And 2 of these customers will now share with you their experience in production automation. I've also invited 2 experts of DMG MORI on that, so stay tuned and be excited. Starting at 11 o'clock, we'll have 5 to 10-minute presentations to take a deeper dive in some specific topics, and we are going to provide you with the latest information. Now, let's get started with the first technology talk. Enjoy.
wir wollen mit
With a new format technology talk, we are going to talk about all kinds of topics that we are concerned about in manufacturing industry. Our customers themselves know best what they need and what is worthwhile, and this is why we've invited them. Welcome to Johann Oberlechner, CEO of the Lindner company, based in a beautiful area where other people would go for vacation, that is beautiful Carintha. You have automated production as well, and you're going to share with us the motivation and the experience on that. After that, I would like to welcome Mr. Irene Bader. He's the Managing Director of Pameko GmbH, who has also automated production with DMG MORI, and he's going to share his experience with us today. A warm welcome. Executive Officer for our technologies and mainly a product for our Japanese products, that is Ralf Riedemann. And he's also in charge of automation solutions, Matrix Light, or pallet handling such as the LPP system. Ralf, warm welcome to you as well. It's great to have you. And last but not least, I would like to welcome our divisional board member, Markus Pieber, who's going to share profound insights into the development of tailored solutions for our customers. Now, I'm looking forward to talk to you. It's great to have you here as our guests on stage, but also it's great to have you back in the audience that we can stream and at the same time still have guests in the studio. After 1.5 years of COVID pandemic, it's really great to have you here, to have the customers amongst the audience in the newly built studio. And I'm looking forward to this technology talk on automation. I'm Irene Bader. I'm Director Global Marketing in DMG MORI, and I'm particularly looking forward to the discussion with you. Mr. Oberlechner, you produce shredding machines for the waste industry, and you're world market leader in secondary shredding first and foremost, and the Lindner machine is also the most widely used machine worldwide. Well, yes, that's true. When it comes to secondary shredding, we are world market leader. Can you tell us about what you're doing? Well, basically, we shred just anything, any type of waste except for stone and rubble, and we do that, well, at a great level. So it's 40 tons per hour and more. That is the kind of output we have, and we do that with several kind of shredding systems. We build about 200 machines per year in stationary machines where we use this automation solution. So per machine, there's about 100 work pieces, and that's for several types. So yes, we do cover a wide spectrum of cutting and shredding solutions. Our customers are mainly in the recycling sector, so the traditional recycling company that shreds in order to clean, and they also shred because they want to sort. So it's also about pre-shredding in order to sort the waste afterwards, but we also shred types of waste that cannot be recycled afterwards and then will be burned, so they will be used for thermal energy. And that is the area where we are really leading the market. And we shred the waste to 20 millimeters, that's the size, and then it will be used as RDF to replace coal gas in cement industry. And the waste industry is really a strong topic at the moment. Indeed, that is an upcoming market, and we're growing extremely. You ventured into automation using DMG MORI machines, and we're going to get back to that later. But at the beginning, Mr. Oberlechner, there were some specific reasons why you also automated tool holder production, why you decided to automate. Can you share that with our customers and our audience? Well, as I said, it's a booming market. The waste industry, recycling market, that's a growing market. And also due to all the public regulations and provisions, we are growing. And we also have to grow in order to keep pace so that our competitors will not overtake us. And we do have a massive problem in finding good workforce, good labor. We just don't have those people. And because of that, we cannot do without automation. So automation is an essential topic for us because that allows us to produce the output which we would not be able to produce because of the lack of manpower. So that's the main motivation for automation. And the second aspect is quality. We do not get the parts at that quality level as we wish for, and it's definitely not stable quality that we are provided with. So anything that we can insource and do in-house, we want to do in-house. And I mean, given the fact that we are located in Spital, in Upper Carinthia, well, that's a tourist destination. We are not the place to be for steel industry or any industrial sector, but most people working in that region do have or are trained in tourism. So if we find somebody to work for us, it's rather an operator and not a person that can set up a machine. And that was also the reason for automation. Well, the lack of skilled labor, that's also one of the main reasons, and it's a big issue at the moment, which brings us into automation. And then there's this connection between automation and loss of jobs, which is often put forward. No, that's quite on the contrary. I mean, we produce more jobs, highly skilled jobs, and our objective really is to let the machine do what it can do, and anything else where we need human beings for that, we do resort to men and women. So we increase the qualification of our workforce, and we have to train them ourselves. There's not much on the market. There's not many companies in Carinthia, and it's a fact. I mean, many people are leaving that region in Austria. We know that, and we just have to be interesting. We have to provide incentives, and especially the younger generation, they want to be creative. They want to have creative jobs. They'd rather sit in front of the computer instead of standing at a machine. I mean, standing at a machine for 8 hours and loading the machine, unloading the machine, deburring, that's nothing that we could make interesting or that we could attract people with. Okay, so before we keep talking about automation, now having touched upon lack of skilled labor, well, do you have the same idea about that? Is that a problem for you as well? I mean, you've got a slightly bigger company. Well, yes, that's true. And the willingness to work night shifts or late shifts is just no longer that much there, which is one of the reasons why we automated. So we've got high level of quality that we need to maintain, and we managed to increase the output. I mean, we produce individual parts, prototypes up to 500 pieces. So the question is, where do we get skilled workforce for to produce serial parts, to work that through? That's a big topic, right? Yeah. So that was the opportunity for us to automate. And the lack of skilled labor, well, yes, we also came up with that question. I mean, they kept saying, you automate everything, so it will be redundant in the future. But that was not the case. We really needed our employees for other jobs. That was documentation, checking, inspection. So there is a real change on the shop floor. It's a complete change indeed, yes. Now, let's look at your automation solutions, Mr. Oberlechner. What I'd be interesting is what were the specific requirements that you placed on the machines and the relevant automation processes? Was that due to the workpiece weight, or just tell us how did you manage to go into automation? Well, we've got very specific requirements, and that is that we have to work with material that is wear resistant, and that places particular requirement on the machines. And that again also has a massive effect on the machine dimension, which had to be upgraded once or even twice up front. Well, indeed, that's one of the topics. And the second issue was workpiece weight, but that was not necessarily the workpieces themselves, but we have a robot that can lift up to 360 kilograms, also to automate the setup process. I mean, as I've told you before, we produce between 50 and 1,000 units. So we are very flexible in what we do. And the objective really is that the machine can continue processing. So even if there's no operator, we can use sister tools, and sister tools in particular because of the very challenging shredding materials. So once one product is done, the machine can automatically set up for the next job, and we do not have to increase the batches. We want to keep the batches small to be flexible. We do not want to produce in one batch, but we want to completely be flexible, and we want to produce just in time what we need from one assembly line. 3D workpiece recognition, that's another catchword. Well, indeed true. We do get the workpieces delivered on pallets, and for us it is important that nobody has to physically go to those pallets. That's something that has developed, and place the workpieces into inlays and determine the position. But that is something that works really well the way we do. We've got the workpieces placed on the pallet with several interim shelves. It's mainly about castings, cast parts, and those parts are recognized by the machine automatically. The position is recognized, and then the machine can grip that from the pallet. So it's gripping basically. That's what automation is about. 3D workpiece recognition. We've got a short video which we'd like to share with you. Marcus, I mean, just to give an example to the audience, I mean, that's certainly not yet the last detail. There will be further details in the development process, but what is it that you can tell us about that? No, for sure, Irene, this is not yet the end. Mr. Oberlechner mentioned it quite concisely. We need to understand the process. We need to know what the customer needs, and that starts with material. That's the size, the weight, the batch size, and where are we going. And based on that, we need to tailor the concept. And the concept usually starts before production, so in work preparation, and then you go one step further. And what we are particularly working on together with our customers is simplifying handling, so making things more flexible, being faster, but at the same time, we also want to integrate the entire process. I mean, you may have great automation, but if there's something lacking in the process then, be it a tool or a workpiece, I mean, you may have a great automation process then, but you still can't go through the entire process without interruption. You've always got disruptions. So that was a process. We had to start, and we had different concepts in mind at the beginning. You may remember different machine concepts, different automation concepts. And as part of the project, we took step by step and finally ended up with the currently available solution. And I think standardization of controls, standardization of interfaces, but also the holistic view of the process itself, that is one of the main aspects. That's something that we need to keep in mind now and also for the future. I mean, you mentioned that before, Mr. Oberlechner. You had a small automation solution in mind, WH Cell, but how did you get to the big system then. Well, indeed, true. And I think that may have been somewhat of a tricky relationship with DMG because, yes, we started off with a different concept. It's completely new for us. We started off with a heavy robot, with a forging robot, and we automated that robot, and then we said, okay, we want to venture into a new era, and we do not just want to have evolution, but revolution. So we were brave enough, and we are in a good situation that Mr. Lindner is very much into technology, and he is just brave enough to do those things. He would take the risk, because I think it takes risk and courage to try something new, but it's always paid off. So we grew with the development of the process. We knew the robot to go. We looked at that. We developed first solutions, and we said, okay, this is where Lindner has to go. We want to have a small cell solution where the operator would provide the workpieces, put them onto a slide or in the inlay. But we said at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. So we were driven by our ambition, because every time we looked at the process, we thought, it's not yet what we want to have. So during the first inspection of the automation facility, we thought it's good, but there is still room for improvement. So we looked at the WH cell, but we said, no, that's not it. We want the parts to get from the pallet to the pallet without having a person involved. And this is how things developed step by step. And during the course of the project, we had those interim shelves in the pallets, and that finally led to the current solution. How long did that take? Well, on the whole, we might say from the first request up to, well, very end, it was 1.5 to 2 years, yeah. You said it takes courage. It takes courage to automate. It takes courage to venture into a new area. How did your staff react to that? Were they brave enough, courageous enough? Did they embrace automation? Well, that's a good question. At the beginning, everybody was a bit distanced because they were afraid of losing their job, goes without saying. But we saw positive development, and we managed to take employees on board. We defined 2 or 3 employees, and we said, this is your machine. You are going to influence the selection of the machine. They came to Pfronten when we selected the machines, and they also visited Amstetten. They took the machine into operation, and they really developed into that. So they started off as a machine operator, but today when you look at it, it looks really funny. In the past, you would have employees standing next to the machine, gripping workpieces, moving workpieces. Now they've got a headset, they are on the phone in order to manage all the details about the process. But our employees have understood that they are not going to lose their job. On the contrary, it is a possibility for them to get rid of night shifts and other things that they wouldn't like. Do you think that there's a poor reputation to automation? When you look at the Works Council, every time they would hear the term robot, they may be afraid, but at the end they can see that this does not mean losing jobs, but rather creating jobs in different areas, then they would support that. It wasn't that simple at the beginning, I have to admit, with the masters as well, because we had to impose something on them, but we managed to convince them. And today, our master, Mr. Aschbacher, is the driving force. He is the one who's pushing for automation. You just addressed another topic, and you said that this plant was already put into operation during the construction phase, at least virtually. Yes, that's true. I mean, some of the solutions only developed later, such as the recognition and those interim boards. That is something that we only developed as we went along, and Mr. Aschbacher was involved in that. I would say it worked smoothly. So for the first inspection in Amstetten, where we had the facility put into operation there, everything worked basically. There were a few things that still had to be fixed, but there was no major issue. So when we pushed the button, it was all up and running. And during the operation, that also continued. I would say that this 16 hours of unmanned operation, including a setup process, that was something that we could meet during the first trial. And I have to admit, I wasn't that confident. So your employees had received training before the plant was put into operation. Yes, they received training in Amstetten. And when that was all built up and when it developed, you just had to put in the plug and you could start producing. More or less, yes. I mean, given the fact that it's often a problem and it causes difficult issues, it was very good. Take a look at our LED wall and you can see what developed out of that. It's a complex turnkey solution, DMU ATP twice, and a WH flex is involved. So as a production plant that can mill forged parts into finished parts with the automated gripping of workpieces from the pallet. Mr. Oberleichner, if you were to compare your new and your old production environment, what are the biggest advantages? Well, there's a big advantage in terms of ergonomics, 30-kilogram weight workpieces, and they had to lift them in the past into the machine, take them back out of the machine. That is something that really affects our employees' health, and we're quite happy to no longer have that. And in the past, we would have to have 2 machines for the same output. They would run for 3 shifts with 1 person per shift. So in total, we would have to have 6 operators. And this is now being done with 2 shifts by 1 employee. So we could reduce from 6 to 2 machine operators. I mean, they're still very busy, those two, because they have to change a lot of tools, they have to do a lot of preparation, but we're completely changed. How many employees do you have? We've got 350, and out of the 350, about 150 to 200 are on the shop floor. And in the machine cutting process, where the machine is, we've got about 25 employees currently, and that is really an issue for us. We do look for employees, for members of staff that can operate the machine right from the start, but it's difficult to find people. Mr. Paulisch, finding employees, finding staff is not very easy. He just said he's got 350 employees. Well, you're slightly smaller, but it's just as exciting, I think, because Pameko GmbH has been around since 2014, and maybe you could tell us briefly how that all developed. 2014, you founded a company. You've got 14 employees now. How did it all develop?
We are a family company. And I founded it together with my brother. He's 12 years younger than me, and we separated the company, the areas in purchasing and sales for me. And that was the way we grew, together with our machines. We bought 1 machine and then received more and more orders. You started in a garage. Yes, exactly. We bought 1 machine, and then what the customers expected of us became more and more. And in 2019, with the PH, which was our first automation solution, we had problems in the production. We had 1 robot arm, and we saw that we could also use this robot arm in different areas in order to integrate it into the machine operation. Then in 2021, the robot-to-go milling was introduced into the market, and we knew what we wanted and we had to buy it. The main target was to have a manless serial production, especially during the night shift. And it was possible to realize it. How did you start? In 2014, you were still in a garage, you grew. Your brother is in the company together with you. He is currently still in school and studying for his exams. What kind of parts do you manufacture? Prototypes, singular pieces, very small batch sizes, up to 500 units. Our customers need accuracy and reliability. And this is how we grew. It is difficult to describe. We had to grow together with our tasks and challenges. Now we have to do what we couldn't do before. batch size of 500 is already a challenge. Handling, cutting, organization. To implement all of this, this is why we needed automation. You said that there was a point where you needed support, you needed automation. What were your expectations for the machines and the automation? The machines had to be very precise. The handling system, the automation solution, had to work with high accuracy. And with DMG MORI machines, this was possible. This way, we were able to reduce production times. We could increase 2 to 3 times more products in the same time frame because of the automation solutions. And the quality is always the same, which was our target. How did you find DMG MORI? Well, we were visited by one of DMG MORI's employees. Well, I had hoped it was our YouTube videos. No. We visited the plant in Bielefeld, especially the robot-to-go, right? In 2014, it wasn't introduced yet. And this concept in Bielefeld was amazing, and we wanted to have that in our factory too. We knew we would see each other again. At least DMG MORI thought so, and we weren't sure yet, but then there was this point in time where we asked DMG MORI to send us an offer. We received one, and this is how our cooperation started. So your contact started in Bielefeld, and then later the robot-to-go milling. Can you say something about our cooperation in developing a product? We always share our thoughts and ideas with DMG. We believe that if the production side tells the company what they need, then it's easier to find a solution. And we really appreciate the DMG MORI work culture. When we talk about cycles or special solutions, we know we can bring them up with DMG MORI, and they will try and they will find a solution. It is really amazing. So a shared cooperation with and for our customers is part of our DMG MORI work culture. Of course, this needs a lot of special solutions, which are very individual. Sometimes such individual solutions become a general product. Maybe you can say something about this. At DMG MORI, we do not only have machines, but also automation solution, more than 150 as a standard by now. I think it's really interesting. Mr. Oberlechner and Mr. Paulisch both mentioned why automation is so important. A lot of things that are needed in the market, we take a look at it and then we try to adapt it for our solutions. Here you can see the Matris light. Like the cola light without sugar, this solution is without a safety fence. You can just move this automation solution from one machine to the next. That was something customers wanted. They needed to alleviate certain times. They needed handling that was very simple. Such solutions have to be easily accessible. We have a lot of single machining processes where we do not need an automation solution all the time. And this Matris solution means that we can just move it from one machine to the next. If it has been integrated into a machine once, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes the next time when you want to connect it again. It is only called Matris because aside from workpiece handling, you can also deburn, clean workpieces, so you can also connect it to peripherals. These are the characteristics of the Matris solution. Usually it's connected to the NLX 2000, but here it is separate in our studio. Let's talk about the cooperation with customers. How do we implement ideas from customers, like Mr. Paulisch mentioned. Can you say a few words on that? Also on our cooperation with the plants in Japan. Behind the scenes, that's interesting. Matrix was a solution where we wanted to find a standard robot, like a modular system. You have a gripper for logistics that can change tools. We really wanted to have this modular solution. We always are in cooperation with customers, and I can tell you the mattress light, which was supposed to be a standard, we only sold it 7 to 8 times, and everything else was a customer-specific solution. They are always fit for the specific component of the customer. Like Mr. Pieper said, we always consider the workpiece. What is the product supposed to be like? What is the automation level? What kind of pallet do they use? And so on. We take these solutions and then we try to standardize them after some time. Based on a standard, for example, a pallet system for pallet handling. Now it can also handle Euro pallets in the mattress solution. You can put very different workpieces on it, and the grippers are changed at the robot, and then the workpieces are moved to the machine. These kinds of solutions are all based on ideas and needs of a customer. We have duplicated this solution 3 times already and installed it in the market. I'm really very happy that everything that you mentioned are also the points that we always get as feedback. So there are a lot of special things to consider during development that weren't necessarily implemented in the standard solution. Correct. Mr. Paulisch, you also developed an automation yourself similar to the mattress light, right? Yes, we used the singular robot arm for welding, and we saw that there were problems with capacity. But for milling it was fine. And this is why we changed the robot to fit our needs for our company, so that we could use it flexibly. So the mattress light would also be a solution for you, definitely. Your first automation was a PH 150 with the CMX 1100V, right? You also mentioned the Robo2Go and the DMU 50. Please talk about the advantages. Well, you have to look about what you want and where you want it. As I already said, single pieces and prototypes, so small batch sizes, but they grew suddenly. When we take the Robo2Go milling, it is profitable from a batch size of 5, which only takes 45 minutes. Until implementation, it is already profitable to have the Robo2Go running. So even from small batch sizes. For the PH, we have also prepared a video. It is in combination with a different machine, but maybe we can show it now. Coming back to the advantages of the Robo2Go milling. Well, processing the workpieces manually is very fast. So for you, automation is not just a nice to have, but it is a must have. Yes, definitely a must have. Mr. Paulisch, your plans. What would you like to change for current machines? Well, the market is growing, the machines are developing. The current machines I wouldn't change. I would like to have completely new machines, maybe. This being part of the development, this is new. And we have to stay within this flow. We cannot stand still is not an option. We have to keep up fast and we have to accept it. Change is imminent and we have to accept that. Mr. Oberlechner, you agree? Yes, definitely. It is the only possibility to produce competitively in Europe. Everyone is evolving, salaries are rising, and to stay competitive, you need automation. And it is possible. We had to recalculate some components, and in general, we are competitive even with Turkey and China. It is possible. What do you need for your employees to be courageous in the future? Like Mr. Paulisch said, you have to be consequent, you have to continue on. Our colleagues know that we have facilities planned already. Like we want to expand our facilities by one machine because we have ideas. We talked about 15 products, now the number grew to 25 even. And these are our plans for the next few years. Simple automation solutions for small batch sizes. Maybe that is also an area where we could implement a robo-to-go or something similar. We also have 2 turning machines currently, where we would also like to have an automation solution. And we're open for offers. Automation can sometimes be scary. Ralf Markus, do you see this fear in customer discussions? Yes, definitely. I can only agree with this. I know that a lot of people fear for their jobs because of automation, but also fear of whether they can handle the automation solution, whether they can operate it. But just like you said, you have to integrate the employees into the projects. They also have ideas themselves, and this even helps improve the project. You can grow together from the tender until the finished product. For both projects, we had the point where we started and the time where the product was finished, and a lot of things changed in between. And this is important. And aside from this fear and skill shortages, what both gentlemen here said, to stay competitive, we can see that many of our customers, when you look at the productivity of these machines, of course it's always dependent on the work piece, but many of our customers have 2,000 working hours per machine, but technically 8,000 would be possible per year, but they don't have enough employees and a lack of efficiency. To cite another customer, he said one of his employees, when optimizing a turning machine, he said, I don't want to set up the machine all the time. I want to work. I want to be turning. And this really stuck with me. And with the CLX 450TC, we have the slogan, are you already turning or still setting up? You want to perform actions that create value. You want to increase efficiency. And machining has to be running all the time. It would be best if it was running throughout all shifts with low effort for the highly qualified employees because they are needed elsewhere. I completely agree with this. Based on our experiences in the automation area in the past decades even, we know there are challenges. Not everything is available all the time and projects change. Usually there's a certain type of fear in the beginning and it changes. Sometimes there's too much on your plate and sometimes you will stumble, of course. You might have experienced this, but in the end you will always reach your goal and you're not alone. As you already mentioned, we're cooperating with you. And this also helps us grow as DMG MORI. The automation solutions we can offer. Every customer asks for more. And we always make use of our experiences to provide them with better solutions. Employees should be used for intelligent work that can't be handled by automation solutions. And the machine should just be running all the time. At the end of the day, the finished part should be ready. Now you just don't only need the finished part. There are a lot of steps in between that are connected to the workpiece and the machine. And taking this effort away from the employee and having it handled by an automation solution increases efficiency. Of course, there's fear. Sometimes I'm also a bit scared about the things customers ask of me. But I can tell you that I've always reached my goals. Sometimes before you make a decision for an automation, we're told that it is too complicated. I think maybe we could also talk a bit about training. Many trainings are carried out beforehand. What are your experiences? How does this change? What is expected of these trainings before and during and afterwards? We have learned a lot from our customers. In the past, customers received new facilities with automation on it, and then we would start training. But that is already too late. So now we have moved the training forward for automation solutions and individual solutions. It is heavily supported by the digital twin. It has the additional appeal that we can optimize further when the project is already running. For not automated facilities, it is important that the training in general has changed. In the past, the focus was on programming and similar tasks. Now, the training focuses more on processes and what do I need to take into consideration in order to have the automated facility running at the highest proficiency level. During each training, we learn something new from our customers. These concepts with virtual classes that you can continue after training. These are new important changes that were triggered by our customers. This is very important for you too, this want to learn more. Yes, I think so. We had a very special solution because together with you we send our programmer to Pfronten. And together with your support, we programmed the necessary programs. So we were able to start day one. Ever since then, the machine has been running. I think it was very successful. In March we started, and now from 9 products that we bought together, we're already set up for 4 of them. The machine is running for 2.5 shifts, and we believe that until the beginning of August we will be finished completely, which is a very fast ramp-up phase. Automation is also helpful for other issues like the skills shortage. What are other challenges that you two are facing in different areas? Ongoing changes. For example, material shortages. Well, currently the situation is very difficult. Especially availability is a problem. I think the whole industry is affected. We don't get materials when we need them. So we can only use the machine when we have the materials and not the other way around. But for employees, we cannot just order them to come into the factory on Sunday. So this is something employees wouldn't accept, and that is a problem currently. We are sharing these experiences. I think everyone in the industry is facing these challenges. I think all manufacturing companies are facing the same problems. At DMG MORI, automation is one of our most important focus topics. It has been in the past years, and it will be in the future. Now we can offer automation solutions for almost all machines, sometimes even more. And we will expand on this. Markus, Ralf, can you give an outlook into the future? Do you have some examples? Well, of course. Automation is at the focus of our attention. Talking about the future, we always ask our customers for feedback and try to optimize our solution. Then consolidating controls, simplifying programs, programming methods, for example, for the robot to go. So you don't need robot programming knowledge anymore in order to control it. Master data technology, where you can control several facilities at the same time. Finally, we always try to take a modular approach, where you can have 60, 70, even 100%, where I can take these modules and then reach an individual solution that is very flexible and very customer specific to the best of our abilities. Our development focus for the next few years is going to be this. Then we have IT technologies, training programs integrated into the automation solutions, CAD/CAM, planning, and last but not least, predictive maintenance, which is a new concept. This way, the customer can achieve maximum availability. Ralf, did I forget anything? I think you mentioned it already. The digital twin is very important. Before we build the first hardware solution, or we will check virtually whether it is even possible. You already mentioned training, which is also based on the digital twin. When you can learn the first few methods virtually, that is very good. Looking into the future, we need to ensure security. automation has to be safe. I already mentioned it, but we take the raw part or the workpiece, and we want to have the finished goods at the very end of the automation process. The complete process chain, every intermediate step should be included. Looking at motor technology, there are a lot of intermediate steps, and they all should be included in the automation process. We don't want to have processes in between because this leads to a reduction of quality. The workpiece should be produced in one single process, together with these digital methods that Marcus mentioned. Let me say a few more words. In the showroom, we have also some examples. Customers say they don't have enough space and not everything is set up in a way that is suitable for automation technology. But whether it is a workpiece changer or a tool changer, we always think about how we can solve problems like this. How can the tool be transported to the machine with an automation solution? And also check whether the tool is still usable. These are all topics that we are looking into. Taking the AGV, we want to supply the customer with the level of flexibility he needs, that materials and tools can be transported to the machine as needed. We're changing automation to be dynamic and flexible and fit to the customer's need. All I can see, there's a lot left in the pipeline, and we are very much looking forward to all our future developments. We have now come to the end of this technology talk. Thank you very much, Mr. Oberlechner, for coming here, Mr. Paulisch, Ralf, Marcus. It was a very fun discussion. Thank you very much for sharing your insights and experiences. Next, you will be able to see our 5 to 10 minute long deep dive presentations. The first one will be Robo2Go Max, automating heavy workpieces, maximal simple, with my colleague Dennis Dusenbach and Stefan Hülsmann. Please enjoy, and thank you very much to the audience joining us here today. Thank you.